Yep.
All right, we're live. Hey, everybody, this is Josh Peak with OKUSA, and with me is Shawn Bateman. Shawn, I appreciate you coming on tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We've been doing a series of interviews here. Obviously, we got a big golf tournament coming up, and
Yeah.
so we got some competition of who can fundraise the most between OSU, OU, UCO, and OCU. And so we got a UCO guy on the line tonight,
All
and
right.
so we'll talk to us about that a little bit. We'll get started there. I mean, you're doing a lot with the youth league, a tremendous amount with the youth league. I mean, there's been a lot of work to be done, and you hear Zach and everybody else talk. You put in a ton of work. So kind of talk about the youth league a little bit. What's going on there, and
Well,
what you see coming down the pike.
yeah, we've got a great board that helps a lot. There's a lot of people that are doing a ton of work, and I think the big thing is we obviously the schedule and with COVID-19, and we're trying to make preparations. Obviously with the schools and our schedule. Some of the schools aren't going to allow tournaments. And so we're trying to come up with other places, private facilities, and that type of thing. And also precautions and guidelines, both, that USA Wrestling puts out and in accordance with our state guidelines and local guidelines. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts and things that we're going to have to consider and do to make sure we have these tournaments and things. We're protecting our kids and families. And so it's been going good. It's obviously a tough time and a trying time, but we're gonna wrestle one way or the other. We're gonna wrestle. So trying to come to an agreement with the people from OKWA, and we've been working really hard with that, and it's been very good in a lot of ways, and then and some things have been a little frustrating, but that's kind of been my goal as far as getting everybody back under one umbrella again. And as you know, I mean, my son's been out of it for 2 years now. This will be his second year out of it, but it's really important that we do that and put our egos to the side and work with each other and compromise. And the thing that I've been kind of trying to preach is stay positive, and there's always a solution if we get out of the way and do what's right for our kids. We're all not going to get every point we want, but I think with some compromise and good level-headed people, which I think they're moving more that direction and as well, and us as well. So we'll see what happens. I've been pretty optimistic this whole time and think we were going to get something done. We've been working on it since April, and their side's been great too. We just need to get it done. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you would agree with that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think it'd be great it'd be great for the state of Oklahoma. I mean, I remember the last time we had, one bracket between, in one state. It was, I mean, our weight was crazy. I remember that. And then,
Yeah.
obviously, the divide there. I mean, when there was OKUSA and OKWA, I mean, we need it for a state. I think we're a powerful state. I
Right.
think we've had, the conversations I had with Zach and Hardell and Rod and all these guys. I mean, that we've interviewed, ages like say 13 to 18 right now. I mean, we're stacked probably deeper maybe than we've ever been as a state.
Right. It is. I mean, there's you know, obviously being a smaller state, we went through some ups and downs. Just better kids that maybe were challenged more nationally, and those kids have really been hitting a peak, and a lot of great coaches in our state. A lot of great. You're seeing a big run of former wrestlers coming through right now. I think from some guys that had a lot of success. I mean, that are out there. So, I think it's a positive thing, and it's something that we need to support. That Zach's been kind of leading the forefront on this fundraising to help offset some costs for our kids going to Fargo, and we've been doing a lot of things with the Virginia Beach duels and just out of state things that really gets these kids. I mean, you see college freshmen hit, they're not in awe of the moment anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's due to a lot of the national competition that our kids, and not just our kids, but kids everywhere are wrestling. I mean, nothing phases them anymore. They're ready to go as freshmen when they hit college.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does it look like for Virginia duels? Is it on, or is it kind of in the air? Or?
It's they did cut our numbers, which in actuality is just going to make it tougher. I mean, we went from 48 teams in both the elementary division and the middle school division, down to 36, which is just, I mean, I get people calling from New Jersey and the West Coast and East Coast about, trying to get on one of our teams. Our teams were cut. We've always taken 3 in each of those divisions, so 6 teams total. And they cut all the states that were taking multiple teams, and now they're back down to 2 in the middle school and 2 in the elementary school, and we're trying to take our best kids. We've always tried to take the best kids in the state, whether they were OKWA or OKUSA. That's just kind of been our goal and stance on it the last 3 years probably, and we've done a good job of that, working together with those guys, and we're going to continue to do that. Just try to doesn't matter where they wrestle. We want the best kids to go and represent Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's that was one of the toughest tournaments, man. That when Rhett we went out of state, and I mean almost every match we had, it was like if you could get one you could get away with, that wasn't too bad. Most 9 out of 10 are going to be really tough matches, and it's good for our kids. Like you said, I mean, once they're exposed to that, and then schoolboy duels, cadet duels, junior duels, they're ready to go wrestle nationally. I mean, they've been battle tested, so that's a good thing.
Well, I've said that to a lot of guys that are really involved with the sport and have really been around wrestling a lot, and they kind of look at you and they, okay, and then they go out there and it's like, ooh, yeah. I know Zach took Jude last year, and several guys that it was their first time, and I think we've been 6 years in a row now, and it's like, wow, this is good. And it's great because it's not like an individual tournament. I think you get to these guys you compete with against every weekend. Now they're on the same team. You get to know the parents better, the kids better, and you know how small of a tight-knit wrestling is, and it's almost a family atmosphere, so it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it probably more than anything all year, because I get to know a lot of these parents and kids, and you get a little bit different perspective, and they all get 10 matches against some of the best guys in the country.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you got started in wrestling when you first got, that's one of the first questions I always ask. How did it start for you? Were you little? I mean, or some kids start different ages, so.
Yeah, I was 8, and my dad was a basketball player, no real background with wrestling, and a local eye doctor in Duncan. I guess I was probably bouncing off the walls whenever my mom went in to get her eyes checked, and he's like, that guy needs, so he kind of got me started, and my first year it was just the local. There's a little local league we have here called DAWC. It's the Duncan Area Wrestling Club, and it's like 5 duels and a end-of-year tournament, and just local kids. And so I did that, and then started into Marauders. I don't know if you remember that group, but it was made up of Marlowe, Comanche, Duncan, and I was actually at a little school called Central, which was a Class C school, maybe 280, 300 kids, K through 12. And so anyway, I wrestled there. A lot of great coaches. Michael Leitner's dad, Mike Leitner, helped us, and Terry Pressgrove, and Junior Thompson was very involved with it. And so it was a really good time. Marlowe, Comanche, Duncan, all of us were, rolling pretty good. I know Comanche and Duncan were second, about every other year. I mean, we would won it three or four times right through that with that run of kids, and we were all battling. It was a great time. A lot of good programs, and Lawton High was rolling at the time, and Mac, and Eisenhower had, White and some of those guys. So Southwest Oklahoma at the time was pretty good. But anyway, so I did that, and then I was going to school at Central, and Marlowe's superintendent passed away, and our superintendent, who was our wrestling coach at Central, he started the program, Ray McCarter, and he moved to Marlowe as their superintendent, and then so I went with him, and Russell and Ronnie Layden and my brother, and we all went over there, so because we didn't have wrestling anymore. So but it was a really good move, I mean, a lot of good workout partners at Marlowe, and they had a lot of success right through 88 through 2000s. So
yeah, we wrestled you guys in dual state. We had a real good year my 8th grade year in Collinsville. Then my freshman year, you guys had Leitner, and I mean, you had everybody in 90. I think it's 94, 95, somewhere around there. I think you guys won it that year, dual state. We got
Yeah, that was
smashed.
my
We had you guys first
first.
round. That was bad.
That was and our coach, Mike Peck, he would try to get us beat at districts every year. It was, dual state was young early, and he was always prepping for the state tournament, and he would bump us around 2 or 3 weights back then. But yeah, I love it now. I didn't appreciate the duels early on, but I really enjoy them, and getting to college, and I like that atmosphere as well.
So what helped you make the decision to go to UCO? I mean, you had a good high school career, and then
well, we had Division I offers, and I actually got upset my senior year at state, and had won it as a junior. I was kind of a late bloomer, graduated 17. I wrestled 101 my junior year in high school, and then started growing about my senior year, and UCO recruited me at 126, and Keith Kazar, he was a 3-timer, and Russell Layden was a 3-timer, the weights above me. And then my senior year, I started growing, and I know David James recruited me at 126, which was high school nationals. I wrestled high school nationals at 119 the end of my senior year, and I ended up growing all the way to 50. I grew about 7 or 8 inches between, from the middle of my senior year to the end of my freshman year in college. So I ended up there. I mean, back then they were as good or better than almost all the Division I schools, and it was just close to home. I had a good scholarship and an academic, so it was close, and I just kind of looked at it, from that aspect of it's close to home. It's a great wrestling program. It was funny, after I won high school nationals, got third at state and won high school nationals, and I had pretty good grades, and so some of these schools were calling, and they were Ivy League, and I was like, I don't want to go there. They're horrible at wrestling, but I wouldn't change it now. UCO was a great place for me. It allowed me to develop great family atmosphere. Coach James, I think, he did such a great job for years and years of high school coaches in the state of Oklahoma. It seemed like everywhere it was former UCO graduates for a long time. So.
Well, you had some good teams there too. I mean, you had,
yes,
like you said, there's Kime and Best,
and
I mean, I remember watching you guys. I think I was in high school, and so obviously looking at colleges, and then you guys, I think there was like a little dual tournament there at UCO where like San Francisco State and some of those came down. That was eye-opening to me. I'm like, this is some tough wrestling. I mean, Kime won a really good match there, and I think Kazar was starting at 18 then. So you guys had some real good teams through those years.
We won it my first 3 years there, and then we got upset and didn't win it. But we wrestled primarily a Division I schedule, and we went to Vegas and wrestled. We would always wrestle back then. If you were the Division II champ, you got to go to the Division I national duels. And actually, I think we placed 5th or 6th there at the Division I national duels, and had a really good team. I mean, obviously Oklahoma State and OU were always pounding on the door about that time as well. And so we got up to wrestle, the big Division I guys. It wasn't none of us, my opinion, none of us were going pro, so it didn't matter whether it was UCO or, I mean, we're just trying to get our education paid for and go compete.
And so then you coached right after that. I mean, you went into coaching there. I mean, and some of my guys that I grew up with, Mark Hensley, Gabe Sullivan, and all those guys, they ended up there at UCO. So they had some good teams too.
Oh yeah. We won it. So I stuck around for the best advice I got, I think, was from Keith Cunningham. He said, Shawn, just, don't ever leave until you absolutely have to and can't afford to stay, coaching. And he was right. It was a best time of my life, coaching and giving back to those guys. And I was DJ's assistant for 6 years, and it was a lot of fun, and met a lot of great guys, and hopefully helped some of those guys, attain some of their goals. But it was a lot of fun. They won it twice. We had the Dodgens and Cole Province and Silva, and guys like Nate Gomez and Joe Schneider. I mean, a lot of guys that are out there coaching now. but it was a good time. Good time. Muhammad Lawal was another one.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was a lot of
Who
fun.
was, I asked Hardell this, what was the most memorable match you had in college?
Uh, most memorable match. Probably, I'd say in college, probably some of my matches with like guys that were Chris Bono or Rod and I had just the good fun battles like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, Bono and I went double overtime 3 times, in the semis at Vegas twice and the finals at Omaha, but it was, he always was, he'd always win the coin flip. So, just, I don't know if any one sticks out. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I really liked wrestling those guys that were just, were just ultra tough. I mean, Rod, I mean, I beat him in the duel and then he turned around and beat me at the Oklahoma Open. And just, those were a lot of fun. You appreciated those a lot more, I think, when you get older and just competing. You miss it when you get our age and can't do it anymore.
Oh
Your
yeah.
bodies don't allow you to, but, um, just a lot of fun. There's so many life lessons that you learn through the sport of wrestling. And, I think we all know it personally. You talk to any of those guys that, way more important than anything I ever won in the sport of wrestling was the friends that I made and the life lessons that I learned.
Yep.
And so, you forget that sometimes as a coach. We're so, competitive and want our kids to do well, but the most important thing is those life lessons that they get out of the sport, working hard and picking yourself up when you get beat. And, I mean, you about, you beat your head against the wall working and it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere. And then boom, you'll hit that, escalator where you'll jump a couple levels. It's such a good sport. I've told my son, I said, son, I don't care if you ever go wrestle or, anywhere after high school, but you're going to do it because it's going to make you a better man. And I truly believe that. So, yeah,
I think that's true. I think it's true in business too. Like, I mean, wrestling,
absolutely.
I mean, you're banging your head, you're trying to make it happen. Then finally you hit some little bit of momentum and things start to happen. I mean, there's a lot of parallels, I think, between wrestling and say business and just the real world.
100%. I got into medical and, a guy when I first got into medical and working with Greg Oplotnik and those guys right when I got out of coaching. And, I met a guy first getting into spine, Brian Barry. His dad wrestled, if I remember correctly. I met him, he came to help me. And Brian said, I wasn't very good, but he said, I think his dad or grandpa wrestled at OU. And he said, my dad would never let me quit. And he said, he wasn't hard on me. But he said, every year I'd want to quit and he wouldn't let me. And I said, I wasn't very good as a senior. And he said, but now I thank him every year because of the life lessons that I learned. And he was extremely successful spine rep and great guy. And he said, it was one of the best things. I remember him telling me that when I first got into it, because we were talking about wrestling but yeah, you're exactly right, Josh. I think there's so many parallels to business and life, and no one's going to sugarcoat things for you when they get out. And those kids, I think, that do it have a leg up a little bit.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Little League. I think I've talked to some of these other guys about how important it is for these small towns and just any town to have a feeder program. I mean, it's the lifeblood almost of wrestling. And I think it's huge. I mean, we have some of these big clubs, but when you see like the Marlows and Sperry's and Collinsville and these guys who have these feeder programs, it's huge for the sport, I would say.
Yes, I couldn't agree anymore. Especially the small towns, I mean, we've had our runs at Marlow and when our Little League program, there wasn't anyone running it. You fast forward down the road and the high school program wasn't very good. So you have to have good people that are involved. Just more importantly, I mean, none of those guys that I mentioned, Ray Miller and Michael Leitner and Keith Kazar and my dad, none of our dads wrestled, but they all got in there and were good with kids and would learn. And I try to encourage our parents here at Marlow is, get out there, be involved, get on the mat. You're going to pick things up faster than your 7 or 8, 9 year old. And so I'm not one of those. I like my parents to be involved, and it's good time with their kids. And if you get that one that's probably like me, that's not great with my son, I need to go work with someone else. And I have some of those guys that do, that get involved. But I like our dads to be involved. I think it's easier to manage the room that way. But without the Little League programs, especially at these smaller schools, it's, in the city areas where you have, your OWAs and Stand Fast and Prodigy and Team Tulsa and Raw. I mean, it's a little bit easier. I always said it'd be better if I could take my son to one of those, but like Marlowe Outlaws Takedown Club, it wouldn't serve our high school that well. I mean, my son would probably be better off, but our team wouldn't be as good in the end. So it's a catch-22.
Sure. So what do you, let's talk about OKUSA a little bit, what Zach's done. And to me, it just seems like this group we have, you and Zach and Schmidt and the board, it seems like everybody's running at a pretty good clip towards the same direction. I mean, it seems like we're, as a whole, it's pretty tight and good things are happening, and probably we'll start seeing growth out of that throughout the state, hopefully.
I think so. I mean, we're really, we've had our challenges through the years, both from a lot of different perspectives. And I think we're all pointed in the same direction, pulling the same rope and trying to, everybody's very good to work with on the board right now. Got a lot of good leadership and a lot of good people with good perspectives and different perspectives that we're all, it seems like, respectful of each other, but still, open-minded and receptive to others' ideas. And it is right now. I think we've got a lot of momentum from that aspect. So, yeah, I mean, with everything from the fundraising, and right now is a tough time. So it's a good thing that we're cohesive and moving that direction.
Yeah. Well, the last thing is, let's talk about the fundraiser. We do have a golf thing coming up here with the fundraising between the four teams at UCO, OSU, OU, right, and then OCU. Let's talk about the importance of that, and not only from the fundraising part. Obviously, it's huge for the kids going to Fargo and offsetting some costs and duels and things of that nature. That's always, like you said, it's big now because of there's been some financial hardships, I think, across the country. But talk about that just a little bit, if you can, the golf tournament and the importance of it.
Well, from a lot of different reasons, it's something that I felt like we've needed to do. I mean, I love talking to the different minds and picking their brain that'll show up at it and getting to see a lot of guys, again, we all talk about the tight knit family and we get busy with our own families and things of that nature, but it's good camaraderie to get to see a lot of the guys that you don't get to see very often. Obviously, it's something that hopefully we'll do annually and also for a good cause, raising money to help all of our kids eventually. But yeah, I mean, getting involved and making a little competitiveness out of it's kind of fun. I got to get some of these Broncos to pull out their wallets a little bit. So, I just think it's a great idea. It's something that we should have been doing in the past, and hopefully, like I said, it'll be an annual event and go up there and have some fun and see a lot of the guys.
Well, that's coming up, right? Is it this weekend? Yep. So you can, if you're watching this right now and you want to, help the Broncos out, then what you do is you go to the OKUSA Facebook page, and I think it's labeled at the very top. It's tagged at the very top, and we'll have the information for the golf tournament, but also the GoFundMe links, UCO, OU, OSU, OCU. So make sure you're, we'd love for you to help out and help the sport out, and let's help these kids out. I think the more people we get to Fargo, the more opportunity, obviously, these kids can get in front of the college coaches, and it's important.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I hopefully we'll get a lot of, if you can get on there, obviously donate on the GoFundMe or get a team together, come out, play in the golf tournament. It'll be a great time. And go Broncos.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate you coming on again, Shawn. Is there any other last words you want to say before you go here?
No, I think you're doing a great job. I enjoy watching these with some of the guys. So it's just it's good. I don't think, like you said, I don't think we'll ever run out of material or people to talk to, and maybe do some. It'd be nice if we could do some just learning from some of these different guys that have successful, as we get further into the year. So I don't know if you guys have something like that on, but.
Well, I know I talked to Courtney, and I think we're going to be interviewing some of the club coaches before their tournaments at the beginning of the weeks, and so that'll be good for their sports to to give them some exposure, and I think it'll be really good. And then also on the bottom of this video, you can see our social media channels. Obviously on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. We got a brand new Twitter page, and then Instagram obviously is the same, and then Facebook here you're watching it. So and we have a YouTube channel as well. So all these videos are being streamed to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, to different outlets. So at the simultaneously. So we're trying to get as much content as we can out there. And like Shawn said, we're blessed to be in a state to where we don't have a shortage of good coaches, good wrestlers and parents. And so we'll have a lot of content coming out in the future. So anyways, Shawn, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.